in this particular province. So they did not want us to expose the corruption that is going on. Whilst children in Limulunga, children in Skongo are going hungry, a few individuals in the UPND were collecting milling from Ego Milling and selling in Congo worth hundreds of millions of kwacha without paying for it. Whilst youths were being shot at in Chingola and Chilabombwe for smuggling 2 bags of milling, 13 to 20 individuals each collected milling worth over 100 million kwacha. So then you'd wonder, a youth fighting for survival with 4 bags of milling in a taxi is shot dead. They themselves, under the cover of darkness, are exporting milling in millions of kwacha. So the people of Barot said, this message of corruption, where billions of kwacha, billions of dollars, have been siphoned from this country, leaving provinces like Barot and poor, it's these messages that are making President Hakainde Hichilema and his Teddy Bear government uncomfortable. But we want to mention that we are coming in to make changes that will distribute economic benefits across the provinces, focusing on the provinces that are behind. So, the people of Barotse, today's rally was supposed to be focused on a number of things that I would want to summarize so that the people of Mongu, the people of Kalabo, the people of Luampa, Lui, Nalwei, do not lose out completely. Under our government, we promise to change, not only to change government, but also to change how government works. And the starting point will be amendments to the Constitution. We'll ensure that some of the things we are seeing now do not ever happen again. We'll see to it that even when it comes to our public officers like the police, they should be personally liable to some of their actions. For instance, the chairperson of the Alliance was making reference to families that are suffering right now because of the tear gas that was fired at them from irresponsible officers or cadres. Surely, there must be some accountability. Officers should be responsible to account for some of these actions. So the reforms that we'll bring will start by professionalizing the civil service. We'll depoliticize the civil service. We'll embark on a merit-based recruitment approach so that we get the best individuals to work in public service, including the police. Under our government, you will not find police wearing masks, hiding their identities. We will ensure that we pick the best, reform the systems so that there's transparency in the operations. Our promise to the Zambian people, the brutality we witnessed today, whilst we're having our rally, the brutality we witnessed in Kalao, and the brutality we witnessed on the Copper Belt will be buried and should be buried in the next 7 days. That should remain with the President Hakainde Hichilema and his Teddy Bear.
Good day. Thank you very much if you are joining us. We are streaming live from Mongu, where Honorable Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu with the chairperson, Sakiwa Scotta, are addressing the country through that broadcast. There have been events that we are going to discuss here and show you images of what happened in Mongu, in Kalabo, and just evening when our people were tear gassed. I've just been alerted to this violence that has occurred unleashed by the police. The violence has come from the police. If you check, the rally was peaceful. After various attempts, the rally was peaceful. You can see Boaka addressing the rally.
And natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor?
Then you can see the police issue tear gas in an innocent, peaceful crowd. Let's return to Honorable Brian Mundubile, Makebi Zulu, and the chairperson, Sakiwa Scotta.
Speak to Zambia so that they can compare the messages that are coming from his government, messages of hate, messages of violence. Ours is a message of hope, because we think every Zambian needs that particular hope. So the poverty levels in Barotseland are unprecedented. We've had time to look at the causes for these high poverty levels and identified education, livestock, health, poor infrastructure to be the main causes of these poverty levels in the province. Our promise to the people of Western Province is that we will first start by working on backbone infrastructure. This backbone infrastructure will include roads. For instance, some of the roads that have been identified would be Kalabo-Sikongo Road right into Angola to open up trade lines between Zambia and Angola. There's a lot of activity in agricultural sector within this country, and the products could easily find their way into Angola once these roads have been worked on. We have the Kaoma-Ikasempa Road. We have the Ikasempa to Mumbwa. We have the Luampa-Simungoma Road, among others. So the starting point is to work on backbone infrastructure. Secondly, we want to work on communication infrastructure, because these are key to attracting investment in the region. We also look at, for instance, social services. We promise the people of Mongu that when you vote us into power, we immediately look at constructing a brand new referral hospital that will complement and supplement the Lewanika Referral Hospital. That hospital is over 100 years old, and surely there is need for a new hospital owing to the growing population in this particular area. We also need to look at mini hospitals, not only in Mongu, but even in the surrounding districts. And further, we also build additional district hospitals in addition to health posts, as it were. So in the area of healthcare, we think that the province is lagging behind. We've taken an audit and realized that the hospitals that are existing are in far distances, and most of our citizens in Barotseland are unable to access these medical facilities. And chief among those, people who have suffered the most in this particular sector are our expecting mothers. So we want to pay specific attention to maternal health and make one promise that no mother, will die, when giving birth, because we have attended to maternal health by bringing close health facilities close to these mothers, close to Nakulumutinta, Nemisepela, Pamakasa, as it were. In the area of education, many of us that have been around for some time would know that the education standards in Barotse have been very high since independence, because there was a fund, for scholarships and so on, and many people were motivated and encouraged to study more. And the standards starting from primary, secondary, up to tertiary level were very, very high indeed. Today, the performance of our pupils, our learners in Barotseland are at the lowest. Surely there must be something wrong. We've gone further to interrogate what the causes could be. We discovered that, one, under free education, there are too many pupils in a classroom. One teacher is taking up to between 150 and 200 learners. So this is very, very difficult. It's very difficult to deliver quality education when you have that number of pupils in one class. We therefore commit ourselves to reducing the teacher-pupil ratio from 1 to 150 to 1 to 45 and 50 maximum. This is recommended by experts, and we believe that we can begin to raise the standards in education yet again. Further, we commit to building more boarding schools here in Barotseland. We have discovered that there is limited space for boarding schools. Most of our pupils go for what they call weekly boarding in private facilities and without guardians. As a result of that, there's been less concentration And in many cases, we've had cases of teenage pregnancies, as it were. So we commit to building more schools, more boarding schools, so that our pupils and indeed the girl child.
If you're joining us with the special broadcast, kindly share this broadcast. What has happened in Mongu? Police have unleashed violence. They started in the morning, tried to stop Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu from paying courtesy call to the Litunga at the palace. We'll show you those images. When they went into Kalabo, their roadshow was stopped. And isn't it no wonder that what CR1 says, they follow it to the latter. He told them to stone Brian Mundubile, and the youth stoned Brian Mundubile. Yesterday, he was castigating the police that they should stop the roadshow and even disrupt the rallies, and they've done so. You wonder who a president of our country is. Is it CR1 or President Hakainde Hichilema? President Hakainde Hichilema just yesterday promised that there will be no violence anymore. He condemned any sorts of violence. Today, the violence has not come from the people or from the people of Mongu. The violence has come from the police. So we are tracking Brian Mundubile with his press conference, but quickly share the broadcast and make your comments, and I'll be opening the phone lines until you Zambians express disgust at this growing instability that is being perpetrated by the state. We cannot allow it unless you speak. You should speak against this.
We've been tear gassed here. Security!
Police are firing tear gas canister here in Kalabo, dispersing the Brian Mundubile roadshow. Quite a number of police officers have been deployed to stop the Brian Mundubile roadshow, and everyone is scampering in different directions.
Can you imagine?
Zambia police.
Anyway.
Very disappointed, you know. This is still a dictator. The police never intercede. The police are attacking people like this. Police officers attacking me. Citizen.
those people.
Don't leave me. Kwisa, Bantu.
Anna.
Anna, let's go.
What's the question? Hey. Why don't you arrest everyone? I told you from Lusaka. He was even arrest.
It is fine. This officer judge is allowing us to pass the Makedonian. It is normal search.
And this thing of just arresting the opposition, you're failing to arrest the clear photos that are all over Facebook. It's not making sense. It's not making sense. Huh?
They stoned the policeman. You stoned the policeman.
Your fellow police officer was stoned yesterday. No. You're supposed to unite as police officers. Your fellow police officer was stoned yesterday. Huh? And you are there here searching complainants. How? Your fellow police officer was stoned yesterday. Pictures are there. Instead of you protecting.
This fool is where first Saluna. Saluna tell us come on. Market soka fella. Mwendi muna niwomula taulu. Ombata kuketa. Konotia bayo fa ballot paper. Hakuna koro ya kubaketa. In an election, your only choice are those people who are on the ballot paper. This year, 2026, on 13th August 2026, on the ballot paper, if we are realistic, there is only one bad man and one good man. Coordinator na bantu kuhera kuliaeza zete fosalile weza muna chwalo nani mikulera kuliaeza chwalo unanilunya yaeza ze chwalo unanilunya yana nilunya kiena yomu mukubaba yenu fa ballot paper this year kana natoka kumikupakuli mumulundile natoka kumikupakuli don't vote for him. Do I need to tell you who not to vote for?
My brother, this thing is these guys are not putting us under pressure. We put ourselves in this pressure because we don't listen. We are greedy. When you give someone advice, it looks like you want to take their position. All of us are here because of a church. If not a church, I mean, would have scattered this party long time ago. We are here because of a church, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that he wins this election the second time and even beyond. But whereby you agree with people on one thing, they go and do another thing, thinking that they are wise. You look at them and you laugh. It's people who think that they know politics, but they know absolutely nothing about politics. They are not politicians. In 2021 election we won was not because of how these guys were. how good they were in politics. It's because forces were with us and the masses. And once you take over government, what you must know is that once you take over government, you will lose people's love, no matter how good you are. If you want, deliver, give. If you want to go to their houses one after the other and feed them, people will stop loving you. No one sits on the throne and get loved. It's a lie. Once people usher you into power, you now have to use that power they gave to you to sustain yourself in power. No one will love a sitting president. It's impossible. Once they usher you into power, they have done their part. If you want to remain in power, you must use your presidential power. And that's where President Echete appointed people. Help me to remain in power to achieve what I want to achieve. But the people he appointed, majority of them are greedy. When you give them advice and they see that, this God, thank you, I've done my part. Look at what is happening. A party that was formed 2 months ago. Just see what is happening in Solwezi today. And we claim that we have people who say they are our doing politics for us, who receive millions of kwacha for doing nonsense. They are there watching these people doing this type of thing in Solwezi. What is your duty? This is where I miss people like Kaiser Zulu. I say it and I will say it again. This is politics. We don't need this type of nonsense that we are doing that we call politics. We need real politics, African politics. Even in America, Donald Trump was shot. Few days before the election, he was shot. They wanted to kill him. That's America for you. The America that you are respecting, the America that you are bowing to, they do dirty politics. On our own side, we want to please everybody. You guys provoke me every blessed day. Sometimes I don't understand the type of people that I work with. Mundebele is in Solwezi. We cannot mobilize boys to stone him. Use stone to scatter his head. He will run out. Type of nonsense that we are doing. Type of nonsense that we are doing that we call politics. We need type of nonsense that we are doing that we call politics. We need real politics, African politics. Even in America, Donald Trump was shot. Few days before the election, he was shot. They wanted to kill him. That's America for you. The America that you are respecting, the America that you are bowing to, they do dirty politics. On our own side, we want to please everybody. You guys provoke me every blessed day. Sometimes I don't understand the type of people that I work with. Mundebele is in Solwezi. We cannot mobilize boys to stone him. Use stone to scatter his head. He will run away from Northwestern. We didn't mean it. You didn't. The youth were burning in anger. Then you, all of a sudden, I also blame the police of Zambia. You guys must be very serious with what you are doing. Stop sleeping. The timetable that was permitted, authorized, and given by ECZ says that there is no road show. You are disturbing people. People are spending hours on the road because of Mundebele.
Police are firing tear gas canister here in Kalabo, dispersing the Brian Mundubile roadshow. Quite a number of police officers have been deployed to stop the Brian Mundubile roadshow, and everyone is scampering in different directions.
Can you imagine? Anyway.
Very disappointed.
This is still a dictator.
If you are joining us in this special broadcast, I've got Brian Matambo, our media director from the Tonse Pamosi Alliance, and is in Mongu with the team. President Honorable Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu have just finished a press conference together with Chairperson Sakwiba Scotta. Brian, welcome to this special broadcast. Let's test your audios, and how are you doing?
Good evening, Ambassador. Can you hear me?
No, I think everything is okay. Very, very clear. Just run us through the day.
Great.
What has happened today? We are seeing very difficult and sad images where the police tried to stop you at the palace. They stopped your roadshow in Kalabo. And then the distressing message where they tear gassed an innocent, peaceful crowd. Just walk us through.
Yes, sir, exactly. What you are seeing on social media is exactly what is happening in Mongu. This whole drama started when the entourage reached in Kayema, and there was a fracas happening there. The police started, acting rather unruly as far as I'm concerned, and we had, cadres who attacked the entourage, and there was tear gas and so on. But that continued today. And you may be aware also that, just to start with, before we even go there, we heard that that the UPND had bought off any platform, any rally place, any ground where we could have a rally in Mongu, and there was nowhere to hold a rally. And eventually something came through. I guess they were not happy about that. The police came through, and what is strange is that there's a fake prophet based in Nigeria who has become very popular in the UPND circles. Some people may know him, and he issued an instruction, all the way from Nigeria, issuing an instruction to the police and to UPND cadres to stop Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu as they go into purported UPND strongholds. And it appears as if the police and the UPND heeded to that instruction, and they went to a rally whilst Prince Aka was speaking, and they started firing tear gas at innocent people. And we have some of the people from our media team and some musicians that have been picked up. I know I don't know, some of you may know Rooney. Rooney has been picked up. The IDC has been picked up. The comedian who acts like President Lungu, Felix, the musician who has been singing beautifully at the rallies, has been picked up. Chester has also been picked up.
Why have they picked the musicians? Why have they picked the musicians and members of your team?
There's no reason. There's no justifiable reason whatsoever. I mean, if you think about it, what would IDC do? What would IDC do? He's just a funny, nice guy. What would you do for the police to arrest him? So this is a case where they are listening to some instructions up there, and they're just executing these instructions. And this is becoming a pattern, Ambassador Mwamba, where the UPND seems to be on steroids to just disrupt whatever we're trying to do. Instead of focusing on politics of ideas and going on to tell people what they want to do with whatever they want to do, free education, whatever their vision is, they are failing to just do that, to speak to people about their ideas. They are on our candidate.
I think on the matter of the musician, this is very sad. First, a tear gassed,
This is very sad because what would Chester do?
Yeah. And attacked General Kanene. He was targeted and hacked. Now you are telling me
Yes.
that the police have picked our musicians. Obviously, they want to cripple the
They've
campaign.
picked up Chester.
So that
They've
there's
picked
no
up.
entertainment.
Yes, they've picked up Chester. They've picked up Felix. They've picked up IDC, and they've picked up two of his Zubi and Rooney in Monga. They're at Mongo Central as we are speaking right now. This doesn't have to be, Ambassador, and this is beginning to be a problem. And I want to predict the desire by the incumbent to try and create a situation in the country where we may become ungovernable or to create anarchy, so that perhaps they might want to do some state of emergency and because it's scared of August 13, wants to do some state of emergency and maybe postpone the elections. But they are being disappointed, as you saw yesterday.
Media director, thanks. You walked us through Nkem and Luampa yesterday, where you were attacked by, especially in Luampa, where there is those injuries by the police. Today, what happened?
Today there was a rally being held today, and whilst Prince Aka was on the stage, the police simply started firing tear gas. And there was no provocation whatsoever. And before we knew it, there was fracas and people were running all over the place. And as it is now, as I was just saying, they have picked up very innocent people. And the names that I'm giving you are the ones that I have. And when I have more names, I'll be able to share with you. But these are the few people that I can tell you right now who we work with on the campaign. This is Rooney. Rooney is a nice young man who hails from Kitwe. Zubi comes from Kitwe. These are just media people. They are just journalists, just filming, just taking videos and images. They've been picked up. IDC, the comedian, some of you may know him. He just imitates late former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He's just a comedian. He's just a young man as a comedian. He has been picked up. Felix has been picked up. Chester has been picked up. And this is a pattern, Ambassador, that is beginning to develop. They are simply trying to provoke us, and they are disappointed that we are not responding at their level of provocation. And it appears to me, Ambassador, that they are trying to get something going here. And we are not biting. Whatever they are trying to feed us, we are not eating it. They just need to focus on their ideas. This is uncalled for. People have been beaten, people have been injured, and they keep coming at us and disappointed that we are not reactive, we are not hitting back, but they still continue attacking us.
In the morning, we saw a confrontation with one of the lawyers for us. I saw him in the images, and he was confronting the police. They seem to have sealed off the palace. Just speak to that, because the images may not tell us much.
I wasn't at the palace, Ambassador, I can tell you that, but I also know that our entourage was allowed to speak to the leaders at the palace. For some reason, I do not know why the police are involving themselves in this. They should be providing protection to us, but they did barricade the palace. For whatever reason, I was not there, and I will give you that information as soon as I have it, but they did barricade the palace. But later on, our entourage was able to be addressed, and they were appreciated for the work that they are doing, and we received a good message of blessing there at the palace. But they did try to stop us from going at the palace in Limulunga, and it's totally uncalled for. Again, we don't know why the police have to involve themselves in this. This was a visit that had an appointment to it, and why the police gave themselves the authority to stop us from seeing our traditional leaders, nobody really knows. But we are suspicious, we are suspecting, we believe that they are receiving it from their house.
In Kalabo, I've seen images and videos of the police, stopping the roadshow that you were doing. Like Siawan predicted when he told off the police yesterday that they have to stop roadshows. Yes. Again, them listening to an instruction from this prophet from Nigeria, this fake prophet from Nigeria. It is very strange. It is very strange how a foreigner from Nigeria and a fake prophet at that is issuing instructions
to the UPND rank and file, as well as to the police, and they are doing what he's saying. This is uncalled for, Ambassador. It is unnecessary, because we have the right as Zambians to speak to people, and roadshows are just part of what we have to do in terms of campaigning. We have very few days remaining, as you may be aware. I think we only have a day or two remaining in Western Province, and we are out. Why can't they just give us the space? And doing a roadshow, if the UPND has done all it needed to do in the last 5 years, they shouldn't be worried about us. After all, they call us boys, they call us Vapompwe. We are nobodies. Why are they bothered about us? They should allow us to do what we need. We need to speak to the people. Tear gassing us and searching us without warrants and trying to find guns in our vehicles. It's uncalled for. What is that for? But they did that. They were searching us and trying to find the faults in us, and they can't find anything. And they should know.
Where were you searched? Where were you searched?
The searching happened right in Kalabo. They were trying to find something. For some reason, I think they felt that obviously for the way that we were looking organized, maybe they thought that maybe we were armed or whatever. And then they started saying they were trying to find something, and they didn't find anything. And it's unfortunate that this has to happen, and that's part of the reason why I keep insisting that there's not if UPND has done what they needed to do in the last 5 years, if free education is a good policy, if CDF is a good policy, if load shedding is a good policy, can they just continue with their good policies? Let them shut down power on what they don't need to come to us to look for things, to look for faults where there are no faults. They don't need to search us. They don't need to tear gas us. They need to give room for the people of Zambia to listen to our message. And those roadshows are just part of what we have to do.
Thank you very much. If you're joining us just now, we are running a special broadcast of the violence in Mongu. The police, this process started yesterday, like Bran has stated. He's also BM, by the way, and I've always called BM. Now we have another BM who's BM8. Brad Matambo is our media director, and he's giving us a brief of what has happened and giving us a wrap of what has happened in Western Province. The images have been distressing. The rally apparently started very well. Let me just play those images, Brian. I see Woaka speaking very wonderfully here.
There's no development that doesn't come from land and natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor? This fumusizwela famu waruna. This fumusizwela fasaluna. Solunya tela kiskaman. Mwaliket soka ufela. Mwendi muna ni omulata ulu. Ombata kuketa. Konoti abayo fa ballot paper akuna kolo ya kubaketa. In an election, your only choice are those people who are on the ballot paper. This year, 2026, on 13th August 2026, on the ballot paper, if we are realistic, there is only one bad man and one good man. Coordinator na vanhu kuera kuliaeza zeze fosalile kweza munya chwalo nani mikulera kuliaeza chwalo unanilunya yaeza ze chwalo unanilunya yana nilunya kiena yomumu kubaba yenu fa ballot paper this year Gana natoka kumikupakuli mumulundile. Natoka kumikupakuli, don't vote for him. Anedile kwa Olwenda. Uyokulera kulinyeza indosu maketi ni playa. Nenuku Afrika indini zilizo. We want it. 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 We want it.
We've been tear gassed here. Can you imagine? Anyway.
We didn't mean it. You didn't. The youth were burning in anger. Then you, all of a sudden, I also blame the police of Zambia. You guys must be very serious with what you are doing. Stop sleeping. The timetable that was permitted, authorized, and given by ECZ says that there is no road show. You are disturbing people. People are spending hours on the road because of Mundibile. There is no road show. HH is not doing any road show. Did you see any HH doing any road show? The reason why there was a road show in 2021 is because there was COVID. There was no time for rally. There was no opportunity given for rally. The only people that we are doing rally, we are the PF. The only thing HH could do was to drive through the road. There is no COVID. You have been given timetable to say, have your rally here. Instead of doing rally, you start causing traffic on the road. Disturbing innocent people. Pee in the market everywhere. And the police is watching this nonsense. What kind of thing is this? Don't provoke us, please. Do your job. The job that these Barroso youths have done today is the job that the police is supposed to do. Road show is not in the timetable. Stop disturbing people. Many people couldn't go to job because today they started daily. Many people.
What's the question? Hey.
Why don't you I told you from Lusaka? He was even it is fine. This officer judge is allowing us to pass the Makedonian. It is normal search.
And this thing of just arresting the opposition, you are telling to arrest the.
Police are firing tear gas canister here in Kalabo, dispersing the Brian Mundubile Road show. Quite a number of police officers have been deployed to stop the Brian Mundubile.
Brian, before I leave you, because I know you are in the field and you are involved in a lot of things, I saw our leaders at a press conference. I think we should broadcast it quickly later. But where are you going after this? Clearly, the program in Western Province has been severely disrupted, including one significant rally, and people were building up, and the police came and disturbed it.
Yeah, I think I'll need to confirm the next steps so far, because when we left, when the entourage was at Limulunga, in fact I mixed up some facts there. When the entourage was at Limulunga, about to go to the palace, that is where the harassment was, where they were searching and trying to find whatever they were looking for. And when the entourage was headed into Kalabo on the road show, that is where the tear gassing happened again. Then when we had the rally, again, the tear, as you saw on those images, I don't know if you've seen the entire the video.
You should send me. You should send me. I just woke up here and I was trying an urgent broadcast. Oh, I've lost Brian there. we're doing an urgent broadcast, and I hope, Brian, you are okay because of what's happening. They've already arrested members of our media, Zubi, Abraham Rooney Kapia, and others. They've also arrested our musicians. Let me look for Brian.
Police are firing tear gas canister here in Kalabo, dispersing the Brian Mundwile Roadshow. Quite a number of police officers have been deployed to stop the Brian Mundwile.
No development that doesn't come from land and natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor? This fumu sizwela famu waruna. This fumu sizwela famu saluna. Solunya tela kiskaman.
I've got the first caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Yes, please. Ambassador, let me just maybe just go straight in my contribution. I'll give you my name next time.
That's true.
The first thing, Ambassador, I'll go for my father, Dr. Nevas Mumba. This is what I want to say. I'm sure he's following, or maybe one of the people very close to him. Mweva Fiashi, try to tone down, try to relax. These are politics, and your role as a pastor actually can be redeemed. It can be redeemed. We still have time for you, actually, as a country. Zambians need you, not only UPND, or not only the Mundwile political party. Come back and take your role as a man of God, as a pastor, as a parent, as an advisor. What I saw when you were addressing the nation about the violence going on in the country, it is not even reflecting. It is not reflecting.
Just a minute. Brian, I was worried. You just cut off the broadcast, and I feared, in these times, and I feared that you're not well. Glad to see that you are well. But I'm taking a few phone calls. Just stay in the background.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was talking about Abafiashwa, Dr. Nevas Mumba.
I saw his broadcast. Instead of condemning the UPND, instead of condemning the police, instead of condemning President Hakainde Hichilema for failing to uphold peace, he was condemning the PF. He went back to 2021. He's so lost. I don't know who Mufiashe Ngaba Fidia.
So shocked. I was so shocked. And Ambassador, one thing we are actually making, this is where we are making a mistake. If PF was okay and cadres, there was no need for us Zambians to change. The reason why to change is and what we are saying even this time, Chirubo. Let me come to the second thing I have on my mind. It's about, our security and the police. I'm sure here is this gentleman from Nigeria instructing the police. And today, we see the manifestation of what this gentleman said. Even if he has a hand or not in this, definitely, some people are following what is happening on social media and everything. They will sit back and say, come on, what is happening here?
Everyone is asking, who's president of Zambia? Is it Sia1 or is it President Hakainde Hichilema? President Hakainde Hichilema yesterday preached peace. So what has happened?
What has happened? I know I have a colleague actually in Uganda. This guy called me and he was like, hey, Zambians, are you telling us that the police receive instructions from Nigeria from Sia1? I was like, come on, what are you talking about? And that's actually how I went to watch what he said and what was happening. And when I saw you broadcasting, I said, please, kwena katulande pofe panono pari liliash. Na mutatupoza hapo. Bamwamba, we are becoming a laughing stock. Muchalo, continent, even globally. How can such a gentleman, that guy, issuing instructions to the police? When Zambians, this is too much now. The president says this, and Bamwamba says this. Alanda Sia1 this, but President Valandi, if you back up, manifest if you Alanda Sia1, not if you Landa Bakateka. We surely we can do better. The other thing, Bamwamba, I was just watching the video at Kumongo. Look at the police coming, and you know the funny part of this is this. Abantu balikwata my phone now. Whatever is happening, balekopa, bakapokola balesa in their numbers, and people are showing. And you see the altercation where it started from. And now you are wondering, were they coming to protect or they were coming to incite? And how safe are the people? Not only, the Brian Mundwili and Makebi Zulu and the team, but just the citizenry. How safe are they in the hands of the police currently? Are the people safe? Is Zambia safe, Bamwamba? Icha kubalira profecho Ningalanda, as I conclude after talking about these three things, it seems these steps so very much today. I want to appeal, and I've been asking Bamwamba, is there a provision of suing the IG in his capacity, or suing the IG, suing the police? Because Bamwamba, what we are seeing, I don't think surely these things, are we saying that the law has no provision where the IG can be taken to court? And if so, where is the Amnesty International? Where is the Human Rights Commission and all these people to take the IG instead of Wama Press and everything? Let's take the IG to court, and we need some explanation, Bamwamba. Surely and no. Let me say this as I conclude. My God, people should not keep talking about the 2021 thing. We voted PF out because we never wanted them. That was too much. So,
thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
2021, no, it is not making sense.
Thank you
so much.
Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. Bamunkongela ndenipo.
Ambassador, inefo ningalanda fye. President te president ni karesa kanono namba fwe na Zambia twalifira okuchita understand ni karesa kanono akaba fye muku kapepa wonso abanda ba afira pepa ba why na randirevi wa ambassador baraba police kale bachibe bachite fintu fya vipa nomba na wena abantu bachira iweramo ukuba patikisha sana ila bachira ndaba wa aka nga mwaresha fe bayechechi bachira tamba nokutamba baraba police bachiba vyati myebereshani mwamure ko yambo kulanda because amashu yachiranda ba aka nife fya ko vyati na bayechechi bare umva romba kustafe command ba police kabyeni mu bapaseni myeba kabapaseni takuri fya ko bachani kani karesa kanono ofyo karanda kumfwa so romba chiri kuri fofwe na Zambia ukuchitandro hii situation because nangu tukomprene nangu tuinga tuaro kuri kuisa tapali. What is important ni ballot paper nomba tuara station protect nentungurushishe soro ndero mbako wa mwamba barolekeshe pwefi company yose abagati yapasangana bachiteko repress pakwe bati kube imyotoka bashironde sana pale ya matezi because kutiba posamo ifintu ifota tukwete fe babikamu. So tight kumyotoka baliko baronderere sana edo bafina abantu shabako batoko twaya bakumona emyotoka fo shikere because irevo bafika pofyonse baisha parasiti kuti vavika ina infuti muramwene muri motoka yava president nangu muri motoka yakwa musician uri wonse vose vavareko nga va president vari making sure ko vati konsoko va parking ku district kuda vavika kwa vanhu vako vati iwe rareta vaumfuwe ko vachitekere panto apa vafika vichitairi yonse kuti vaposa mwefintu firi zvonse muri motoka because ava vatata ava tevantu avo teva president so rekentwambia kuvasenda ngefe tuingasenda omurwani te president.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Is it good morning or good afternoon? Yes, wherever, which part of the world you are listening from. I'll remain anonymous for now. And I just also want to make a contribution towards what is being discussed. To start with, Ambassador, I'm even ashamed to be a Zambian to watch things like that happening in a country where we are saying that there's peace and we are in a campaign period. It's not that those people went there to do things out of the campaign period. It's unfortunate. How can we allow such kind of a thing happen in a nation? We are saying this is a Christian nation. We had, like the previous caller said, we had a president who said he did not accept to see violence and everything, and he wanted to see peace. And he actually condemned the violence that is taking place, which for me was even vague coming from a president, because he needed to single out those cadres because they were from his side. He needed to condemn and tell them they should stop it and let them allow Makebi and Munduvile to continue with their campaign peacefully. We cannot allow a president who gets instruction from a foreign nation called Siazozo, and we are being, honestly speaking, getting instruction from him. Why doesn't he concentrate on his country, Zambia? Do we have Zambians who go to Nigeria to go and instruct the president of Nigeria on how to run the Nigerian country? No. We say abash to this nonsense. We say abash to this stupidity of allowing a nationality coming in our country to tell us what to do. We as Zambians, we should be on top of things and say no and abash to this stupidity. Ambassador Mwamba, we are a country that is peaceful. Just because the Zambians have not retaliated to the nonsense that the UPND cadres are doing, I actually also followed where they are now actually saying Munduvile and Makebi are the one who are staging this. No. We cannot.
No, today's action is even better because it was done by the police. So they're going to say, we wore police uniform and did that? So it's good that the violence was committed by the police.
Yes, because they've been saying that.
As directed by CR1.
Yes, has been the one staging that. Who does that? How do you want to go and just violate your own things? This is uncalled for. Zambians, please, I'm begging as a woman who saw women running away from that rally crying, Zambians, vote wisely. We hired these people, the UPND government, on the 13th of August 2026. We should fire them. We should not allow them to continue. No, we can't continue. Look at that Kanene, the way he was bruised, the way he was injured. Do we know how much damage has been caused to that brain? And as Zambians, we should watch? No, let's speak in the votes. We should speak in the ballot that we say no to this injustice. Everywhere, Zambians, you have seen, we've been so calm. Everybody's calm. But they want, when they do things, they accuse the Munduvile and Makebi team to say, we are the ones who are causing this. No, let's say no to this. Abash violence, abash injustice, abash everything that they're doing. Let's vote them out. Come 13th of
Okay, it's back on. It's back on.
Okay. So I was saying on Siawan, we've heard voice notes where Siawan is talking both to the president himself, to the former members of parliament, even before parliament was dissolved, even talking to the ministers. Sylvia Maseko was one of them that Siawan mentioned. And if Siawan could be found in a blog for UPND and is even giving ideas of what has to be done, why church? You've brought down the presidency to, I don't know. Really, you are a disgrace to the presidency. In a country where Zambians vote for you, you go and pick Siawan Esangoma to be your chief advisor, advising you on how to ruin the country. We've heard all these voice notes where Siawan is saying, I told you could have done this. Siawan was just complaining to say, these boys, you let them go, and now they're everywhere. You could have just hit them with stones and what? And today the police are hitting on Brian Mundwile and Makepi. And you want us to think this is just coming from nowhere? No. By HH, you are such a disgrace to the presidency. But it's even good that God has showed us that umuntu nalekana okwebate ebapo esho nalekani nanifi twaimwena abena Zambia. As 13th August is approaching, don't forget, this is the last bullet we have. If HH wins this time around, there will be no Zambia to talk about. There will be no Zambia to talk about. We have to do the right thing. Vote him out. And as we go to vote, ensure that you protect the vote. Kuikala. Stay there by the polling station until your vote is counted. We have to do this. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello, good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
This is Muvita from Kafiwe.
Muvita from Kafiwe, make your contribution.
Ambassador, the behavior by the police is so disgusting. I've always talked about the professionalism in the police, that it leaves much to be desired. There is no way the police can be firing tear gas at a rally. It's really very surprising. It's unheard of. I just don't know what to say. I'm really powerless. I'm shocked as well. Because they just there at the rally, do they know even the people who were gathered there? There are people who are sick, there are people who have asthma, who are asthmatic, and you just go there and fire tear gas like that. It's really very sad.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Thank you. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Ambassador Alex.
Just a minute, Alex. Yes, Alex.
This question, Ambassador, goes directly to you. It's a direct question because I know that you have all the powers, you have all the connection on your palm. And my concern is when all these things are happening, when all this violence that is taking place, all the attacks, there's a church that we know, and those churches, the motherboards are such as Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia. We have the Catholics, and we have renowned bishops such as Imakando, Bishop Banda. Having said Imakando, a week ago, we saw the president of the country was in the church called Bread of Life under Bishop Makando. And when such a thing is happening, this is not the first time that Zambia is going for election. But we had a number of elections, general elections, we have seen how the elections are being conducted. So when we see such kind of treatment, such kind of barbaric action coming from the government, the party in government, it's worrying. This is how genocide starts. Because already you have seen how the president has been preaching. He has been preaching in line with divisions. He has been going, when he goes to the other side of the country, he speaks about unity. When he goes to these regions such as Southern and Southern, Western and Northwestern, he has been talking about division. This is your people have been beaten and attacked. So he has sowed the seed. Ambassador, may you please bring or call those people. Bishop Banda, I know Bishop Banda, you know him. I know Makando, you can find his number. I know Bishop Mususu, you can find his number. These are the people that have surrounded President Lungu. They called him, President HH. These are the people that he's calling them as my spiritual fathers. Let them come and condemn. And if indeed they are not with him, let them come and condemn this violence. Because at this time of the day, the church should stand tall and guide. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Let me bring in Brian Matambo. Has he gone? Is he gone? I need to bring him. We're doing a special broadcast today of what has happened in Mongu, where the police have discharged tear gas on an innocent crowd. Let me take the last caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Give us your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
James calling. The happening in Mongu is very disheartening. Yesterday we saw UPND cadres, those typical cadres. Today we saw the police. I don't know what these people, I'll repeat what I don't know whether these people are humans or animals. Their behavior, Ambassador, does not exist even in the jungle of animals. We are all Zambians. We see lions protecting each other. But where are these people coming? Where are these species of people coming from to come and brutalize people? You know, that rally was very peaceful. People were enjoying themselves to get a message from the speakers there. And then police from nowhere, they just come and start, tear gassing people. I think this thing is uncalled for. I'll still repeat what I said, Ambassador. Where are the so-called election monitors? These people that have come to Zambia, I'll still say what I said yesterday. Have they come to cut deals with the government in the midst of elections? Do they fund elections to sponsor violence and killings of innocent people? I think they should, I'm calling upon them to, hold a press conference and condemn these barbaric acts. It's very disheartening, Ambassador. I don't know what will happen on the election day, because these are just intimidations that have been planned so that when they scare people, they can do whatever they want to do. But I think I saw the people of Mongo standing to protect the president and the others. I think that spirit is very good. And we need people, very, very brave people. I know what we are going through as a country is something else. This government and its party, I don't know how I can describe them, because how can you tear gas people? Some of the people they tear gas there, maybe they could be their voters, but they tear gas them just like that. Who does that, surely?
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and give us your contribution. Hello.
Hello.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Don Oscar. I'm calling from Italy. from Rome.
Thank you.
Sad day, indeed, sad day indeed. But we will continue speaking, and even today, I think I would like to add to what many people, the displeasure and the disappointments from many Zambian people. What has happened where a situation where there is ECZ program and the police, they have the ECZ program and they know what is supposed to be happening. It's a campaign period. Only 5 days in an area. All these indications, they are very clear from ECZ. Bamamba, allow me, I would like to speak. I'm going to speak to Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu, and I'll speak to the Zambian people. I am not going to speak to Hakainde Hichilema. The time to speak to him is finished. But I'll speak to the Zambian people, and I'll speak to Brian Munduvile and to Makebi Zulu. So we come to the program. ECZ has issued a program, and the people, they have the rights to go and campaign in the way they like for 5 days in a particular area, and this time they are in Western Province. Now, the reaction of the police, first of all, and this is now to the Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu. Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu, you are forming the government very soon, and I hope the Zambian people can give you that authority to form the government after the 13th of August. What has happened in Western Province? I looked at the police officers, Vamwamba, Zambian people. We come from our friends. Some of our friends are police officers. They are our relatives. We love them. We love our police. And Zambia has a good reputation of the way the police has been operating since 1964. What happened is not typical of our Zambian police officer. This one, listen. What happened today in Western Province is not typical of the professional work of the Zambian police officers. And that means we might be infiltrated already. But I am not going to condemn the police officers. It is very strange why I'm not going to condemn the police officers. I'm going to say, and you identify them, those who are operating in this way, which is contrary to the indication of ECZ. The police officer cannot go against the indication of the ECZ. Now, can we assume that this is the so-called database police empowerment? Can we assume? Yes, myself I would say I might assume that this is the fruit of the database police officers who nobody knows their names, nobody knows their faces, only their officials who employed them, they know them. So, my appeal is this to the police officers. My friends, my sisters, you have always been professional. Police officers, my brothers and my sisters, you have always been professional. It's not police habit to tear gas an elder brother like Mabsokotwane. It's not a police officer's habit to tear gas Basakupi Baskota. An elderly, that is a senior citizen. It's not a typical of the police officers to tear gas contenders of a general elections. nakana, these are police officers, nakana, bamunduvide nakana, even in your rally, go wherever you're going tomorrow. Tell the Zambian people that those are not police officers. That's not the professional way of operating with the police officers. So, who are operating in that way? Here comes now my idea. Get their identities, get their photographs. Justice will come. Sooner or later, justice will come.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Father Oscar. Thank you very much, Father Oscar.
This is the emergency. So, then, the other thing is, Zambia. Abantu once that this is second independence. Chachi, but President Hakainde Hichilema, you have disappointed us. You have disappointed 2.5 million who voted for you. We believed your words. We believed your promises. Today, what is happening in the country is totally opposite of what you promised us. But President Hakainde Hichilema, it's not too late. Kwashala 6 days. Show the Zambian people that you are not a violent president. Show the Zambian people that you are not a double standard professional businessman. Show the Zambian people it's not too late. Ukwalinsoke takwafwire bantu. Bakateka President Hakainde Hichilema. I appeal to you. Power is temporal. Our country, Zambia, is a landlocked country, peaceful country, 62 years of peace. Do not allow to destroy all our forefathers constructed for the last 62 years. Thank you so much and good evening.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we were broadcasting a special broadcast today regarding the violence in Mongu, and I've got Brian Matambo here, BM, who's going to just wind up. But the images have been very distressing. Here is Zambia's leading opposition candidate and a leading candidate in this election being evacuated when the police discharged their... you can see the officers there taking Brian away and risking him away. The police had discharged firearm in a peaceful crowd. Brian, what are your last views on this special broadcast?
Ambassador, it's a shame, really, what we are witnessing in this country at this time. And I just want to throw a blanket of blame on the so-called city fathers, like the spiritual fathers, our bishops and so on and so forth. It's a disappointment what I'm seeing from them. I saw a statement, first and foremost, I saw a statement from the president, which was very lukewarm. He failed to condemn his people. What they did, there was a policeman yesterday in Luampa who was hacked. He had a cut on his head. There was a musician in Mwembeshi who was hacked. General Karen is someone we all know. The president, in response to what the UPND cadres are doing in these places, his statement was lukewarm, very embarrassing. I would have expected that from his rhetoric from the past. I was expecting he would say something very direct and condemn those activities in Western Province and those activities in Lusaka Province. But no, he went generic and he was talking about all political parties have the right to do what, to campaign. No. He needed to call out the activities happen and condemned UPND cadres for what they had done and call them to order. But he didn't. Look up. Why? Because he's probably happy with what they are doing. Probably. I can allege. And then today, I saw a statement from the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, another lukewarm statement, extremely embarrassing. I'm from the EFZ myself. I'm an evangelical. And seeing that, my heart breaks, Ambassador. Because how do you have such a lukewarm statement? Again, a very, very, very lukewarm statement that just say, oh, no, let us not be involved in violence. No, you can't say that. We have seen who has been perpetrating violence. Why are we tiptoeing around this issue? Just because HH was in your church, in one of your churches? No. The Bible is very clear when it talks about watchmen and when it says that when you see calamity coming, you should be able to call it out, because if you don't, the blood of the city will be on your hands. But what is happening to our spiritual fathers? What is happening to the leaders of the church? You know, this is very difficult for us Christians, because there's no way you can just scoot over this issue. These people, as you have seen, the police was firing live ammunition. Innocent people have been tear gassed at a public rally. Not at a riot, not at some strange place, at a public political rally in political rally season. This is the season for campaigns. ECZ has a calendar, and NRPUP and Brian Mundubile are supposed to be in Western Province. There's no breaking of the law. Everything is being done accordingly. However, we have spiritual fathers. They will go and make a statement and be generic. No. UP cadres, wearing UPND regalia, being instructed by people like Siawan, who is amongst them a member, and their supporter, are the ones perpetrating this. And their president has failed to control his people. He has failed. He's weak. He's too weak. He can't control his own cadres. That's not a president we need to continue with. We need a president who can call his cadres and say, stop what you're doing, and they stop. But what we are seeing now, even church leaders, EFZ, Ambassador, you should look at the statement from EFZ, because that statement is empty and weak. It is full of smellless, scentless smoke. It's nothing. There's nothing in that statement. They are just generic. Oh, let us just uphold peace. No. Call out, you saw a policeman was hacked. What else do you want? You want to see someone's brain on the street for you to see that it is serious? General Kanele has stitches on his head.
Oh, thank you.
Their registration plates at all times. We further urge the RTSA and Zambia Police Service to enforce the law consistently and impartially, regardless of political affiliation, in order to promote accountability and strengthen public confidence.
Brian, let me release you. I'm transitioning to the next program, and thank you for your insights. I'll get in touch with you later. I think we may have to do, after you are done with the supper and everything, and I'm done with my guest, I think the country is burning to speak. So I might call you as a co-analyst. We come and deal with this matter. So I'll release you for now, but you are on standby. I'll come and call you after an hour or so.
All right.
Thank you. That's our media director, Brian Matambo, and was giving us, a roundup of how they've moved in Western Province and the events that occurred today. Thank you, Brian.
In the electoral process, we move to the second issue. Now, TIZ has closely followed the Electoral Commission of Zambia's management of the ballot paper printing exercise, which was conducted in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. We commend the Commission for taking deliberate steps to enhance transparency throughout the exercise by accrediting representatives of political parties, civil society organizations, election observers, and members of the media to witness the printing process. The Commission also provided very regular public updates and responded to concerns related to different aspects such as ballot paper quantities, excess ballot papers arising from booklet printing requirements, as well as candidates whose names remained on the ballot after withdrawal, and other operational matters. These efforts contributed positively to strengthening stakeholder confidence in the ballot printing process. But at the same time, TIZ noted concerns that were raised by some stakeholders regarding the delay in the arrival of ballot papers in the country, as well as the costs incurred by political parties to observe the printing process. While the Commission addressed many of these concerns publicly, the discussions demonstrate that continuous stakeholder engagement and timely communication remained very essential during sensitive stages of the electoral process. TIZ therefore encourages the ECZ to maintain the same level of openness and proactive communication throughout the remaining stages of this electoral process. Equally, political parties and other stakeholders should raise concerns responsibly and avoid circulating unverified information that may unnecessarily undermine public confidence in the Commission or indeed in the electoral process itself. We move to the last issue. Now, as I said, we have noted with concern the continued involvement of some public officers in public political discourse during the election period, which is an issue that we have highlighted in a previous update. Most recently, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Media, Mr. Tawo Kawana, publicly urged Zambians not to support a return to the governance style associated with a former Patriotic Front administration while defending the record of the current UPND administration. Now, while government has a legitimate responsibility to communicate policies, programs, and achievements, public officers should exercise caution not to engage in partisan political campaigning. TIZ wishes to remind Mr. Kawana and other civil servants that are engaging in active political activities, whether in support of the ruling UPND or any other political party, that active participation in politics by civil servants constitutes gross misconduct. In particular, number G under category B of the Disciplinary Code and Procedures for Handling Offences in the Public Service explicitly makes it an offence for public officers to engage in active politics, including speaking in public on political matters. As we did in our fourth update on the 21st of July regarding Mr. Andrew Banda's active engagement in political activities while serving as Zambia's ambassador to South Korea, we again wish to amplify our call to the Secretary to the Cabinet, Mr. Patrick Kangwa, to institute necessary disciplinary measures against the two public officials for brazenly abrogating this position. The deafening silence from the Secretary to the Cabinet when his officers are so publicly abrogating the disciplinary code as highlighted raises very serious concerns about political bias within the civil service, but is also an indictment on Mr. Kangwa's ability to exercise the authority of his office. The public service exists to serve all Zambians, irrespective of political affiliation. And during an election period such as we are in, it is particularly important that public officers remain professional, impartial, and politically neutral. Political debate, defense of party records, and criticism of political opponents should remain a preserve of political party functionaries and not public servants whose remuneration is paid by the citizens of Zambia. We cannot overstate the importance of addressing this issue, and we challenge the Secretary to the Cabinet to make a public statement and assure the citizens of Zambia that he is not running a civil service that has effectively gone rogue and where his officers are not taken to task for abrogating the Public Service Disciplinary Code with impunity. In the same vein, TIZ is concerned by the participation of the Zambia National Service Commander during a recent engagement between President Hakainde Hichilema and students from the University of Zambia at State House. During that engagement, the commander highlighted interventions that have been undertaken by ZNS and spoke about improvements in sanitation at the university, among other achievements attributed to the government. While public institutions have a legitimate role in reporting on programs that they implement, the timing and context of such presentations during an active election campaign require very careful consideration. Security institutions in particular are expected to maintain operational neutrality and political impartiality, and their public communication should avoid creating perceptions that they are being drawn into advancing a political narrative or indeed endorsing the achievements of any one political party during an election season.
Thank you very much. We were running a special broadcast on matters that have occurred in Mongo under Brian Matambo, Media Director for the Tonse Pamosi Alliance. To give us an update, he's with the team. We have reports that over 5 persons have been detained by the police. This includes 4 of our musicians and members of the media. Zubi, Abraham, Rooney, Kapia, and Zubi have been detained, and the musician Chester, Rich Busy, and the others. And then the violence that occurred, where the police discharged tear gas in a peaceful crowd. And, you know, you saw the chaos that ensued. And this particular broadcast with Martin Kalungbanda was delayed, but he's here in the studio and we're starting the program, and I'll invite him to comment about the issues affecting our country 8 days before Zambia holds its presidential, parliamentary and local government elections. Martin Kalungbanda is an acclaimed Zambian author. He's an international leadership consultant and is an organizational development expert. He's widely recognized for his work in ecosystem leadership and his role as a co-faculty member of the President Singh Institute. For Zambians, they'll remember him when he acted or worked as Chief of Staff for President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. And I've got Martin in the studio here. Let me see if I can bring him quickly. Martin, good to see you once again. You haven't been on my broadcast for almost 2 years.
Ambassador, wonderful to be here.
It's never too late, and thank you for coming. We'll have a wonderful discussion 8 days before our elections are held. Let me just play this, and then I bring back Martin Kalungbanda. Martin also serves as a visiting fellow at the University of Oxford's Said Business School and is a research fellow at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's a government advisor. He has served as special consultant and chief of staff to the president of Zambia. Like I said, between 2005 and 2008, he was chief of staff to President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. He's also a social entrepreneur. He runs the Ubuntu Lab Institute. And he also part of corporate and global consultant on NGOs and, you know, social change makers in the world. Martin, we are proud of you as a Zambian and what you've achieved. And I've brought you especially to begin to look at the post-electoral process, because the mindset of all Zambians is locked in what happens on 13th August. But after 13th August, there's a post-electoral process. There's a government that has to be formed, and what does it have to pursue? Whoever wins, whether it's Brian Mundubile or Hakainde Hichilema, there'll be lessons from the last 5 years and how to take the country forward. Let me just welcome you, and we begin the discussion.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I just wanted to stress the line when President Mwanawasa invited me to support him while he was in office. My correct title was Special Consultant to the President. And I always say it's probably the most valuable university education I ever attended. Watching and participating with other colleagues see someone run this thing called country. That's probably the best university education I ever attended.
And you know, that's why I played the TIZ video deliberately, because in this season, it's like we can't distinguish who's a politician, who's a civil servant, and the state institutions all seem to dissolve into politics. Your observation during this period?
When we collapse the wars between politicians and civil servants, we are risking the proper governance of the state. The bureaucracy that is called public service has been designed for centuries. And we must remember it has been tested. When you conflate the two, you risk running a police state, a pariah state, a lawless state. Those that went to school and have been trained to be civil servants, they have guidelines under which they perform. Those who are politicians have a much wider latitude. In times when political systems fail or are not functioning properly, like we have seen in countries such as Italy and maybe even Japan, it was the public service, the civil service, that prevented countries from collapsing. If we tamper with the public service, the civil service, we are also risking the well-being of the country.
You are right there by giving an example of Italy and Japan, but near home where you are, we've had 10 prime ministers just under 10 years, uncharacteristic in the UK. And the civil service have seamlessly transitioned between these separate governments.
Absolutely, because they are following clearly outlined, tested ways of functioning. It's not perfect. But once you adhere to those rules, then the state continues to run, even as politicians are failing and stumbling. It's dangerous territories when we conflate that space, or when we destroy that space between politicians and public servants. And to that extent, then, the permanent secretary that was talked about by Transparency International Zambia chapter, that is cause to worry. But it must also be repeated for what it is. It is unprofessional, it is uncharitable, and it is not serving the interests of Zambia.
Yes, indeed. 8 days before Zambia holds its presidential, parliamentary, and local government elections, the whole country is gripped with fear of the unknown. There seems to be like we're descending into violence and instability. And we don't seem to arrest this very closely. You've watched many countries, you've given advice to many presidents. What should happen during this period to our stakeholders? Let's start with your famous letter to the president. What should the opposition do? What should stakeholders like civil society and the church do?
First of all, it is deeply saddening that we can see such levels of violence. And I've seen on social media some people saying, but it was worse. And they mention a period of time when they felt it was worse. We can't progress that way. This president and his government, they promised something better. And Ambassador, you know the overwhelming powers that the president of Zambia and most presidents in Africa and across the world have. They command the military, the police, the Zambia National Service. And if the president wanted and was committed to his word, which we listened to in 2021, he could put a stop to that. And when the president's voice is unequivocal about condemning violence, the system listens. This is the time when national leadership is needed, when an unequivocal voice of leadership, voice that is sincere, committed to the common cause must come through. Lukewarm words wanting to apportion blame on as many sides as possible so that no one institution, person, organization is targeted, that doesn't help. Because in the particular instances we are talking about, looking at the videos that have come through, clearly the leadership could be more definitive and sending a strong message. In fact, using their powers vested in their offices to quell the violence that seems to be emerging. So there is no excuse for that. The president in Zambia has immense power. He knows this, for instance. He claims he went through it, and I agree with him. He did go through some pain, but that's not the reason to repeat the pain that he went through. The reason why people elect new ones, it's on the basis of the promise that they can do better.
You've watched power at close center through your work and your experiential university, like the one you are saying with President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. There are competing voices to the president. There are others, hardliners, that will tell him, look, the opposition is about to overtake us. They may take power. You are not using your powers to curb or stop them. There are others, voice of reason, that would appeal to the president to act in a constitutional manner. What voices, you just walk us through, what do you think is going on in the inner circle of the president, where he's at the verge of losing power in the event that, you know, the leading opposition power, Brian Mundubile, wins? His power base is clearly threatened. But that's when I think that the president becomes more dangerous, because he can yield to unsound advice.
The voices that reach the ear of the president are shaped not by the appointments that there are, not by the official titles that there are. The voices that reach the ear of the president are shaped by the character of the president himself or herself. The president could have as many advisors as he wants, as she wants. But quickly those around the president quickly learn that this president can tolerate positive and challenging feedback, or this president only tolerates positive feedback, no matter how outlandish or untrue it might be. He nods when it is positive. So they quickly become a culture that only speaks what they think she will like. And that is what determines what reaches the ear of the president. People enter those spaces quite often open. Advisors enter open. But unless the president gives them a cue that, guys, in these jobs, I'm not looking for praise singers. I'm looking for men and women who will look at me in my face and speak the truth that they see. Those are the instructions I got when I arrived at President Mwanawasa's office. And later on, when I had the privilege to go and support colleagues working in similar positions to me in the country of Rwanda, and when I was given the opportunity to go and support the people around President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia, it's the same. When a president leans only on hearing what elevates him as way cut above everyone else, everybody learns. Once in a while, in those systems, you find someone or a few people who stick to the script of their job descriptions. Quite often, someone in my role, like I was with President Mwanawasa, you are the outer ego. You say the things that other people cannot say. It's not always easy. Ambassador, I was lucky that before I took up my job with President Mwanawasa, I was invited by colleagues who were working for Prime Minister Tony Blair in number 10 Downing Street. And they gave me some good advice that held me through. When you are there, you will see how overwhelming the office of head of state is. You need to find time to recollect yourself so that at all times, as humanly possible, you can say the part of the truth you see. That is what will serve your president. And indeed, when I arrived in Lusaka, just before I was sworn in, I strangely asked President Mwanawasa if he could give me a week. And he said, Martin, you haven't started working and you are asking for a week off. What is it for? I said, I would like to go on a retreat. And I asked one Catholic priest if they could take me in, and for a week, I knelt down and asked for God's grace. Give me the courage to speak truth to power. Give me the courage to be sincere. It won't always be easy. My own humanity is not sufficient. You have been there, Ambassador Mwamba. You know how overpowering and overbearing those offices are. Within a short period of time, you start feeling you can walk on water. It's not true. It's a mirage. And the more you can move that mirage away, the more you can be of service to the head of state. So I do not know. I can only guess. From outside, I sense that the strong personality of our current president might be overwhelming people around him. And they are not responsible. The president is responsible for communicating such energy, if at all they do feel scared to tell him what they truly think.
I love that. There's a joke in the corridors of power that President Hakainde has so many advisors, and every time they are before him, he advises them. You are right about a strong personality. You clearly see it in his public statements, his public posture, his public remarks, that this is an obstinate leader. Sometimes he says unpopular things that he shouldn't say. He pronounces things he shouldn't pronounce. How do you advise a strong-headed president like that one?
You have to weigh what is possible, Ambassador. Just before I was sworn in, I had a conversation with the president in his office. And I said, Your Excellency, talk me through this job description. And then he almost angrily looked at me and said, Martin, so you haven't read your job description? I said, sir, I read it. I want to hear your voice. And almost dismissively, he took the pieces of paper I was holding and went through. Your job means X, Y, Z. And then I said, thank you, Your Excellency. I've heard you in your voice. So it's not always that I will say what you are looking for. My job is to say what I'm learning, what I'm hearing, what I am studying, and give you the options that I am seeing. In the end, it is you to decide. So you have to negotiate that relationship with the office of the president. Otherwise, it overruns you, it overwhelms you, it makes you feel this small. One of the things I said to the president, Your Excellency, please excuse me and give me express permission that I never kneel down when I'm handing something to you or when I'm speaking to you and you are sitting. I never kneel down. Even if you are sitting down, I could bend and listen to you. And he said,
why was that important? Because ordinary people may not know that presidents are treated like literal demigods. You'll have someone walking on their knees coming to the president and you are walking straight. You look insolent, rude. Why was that important that you had to tell the president that you'll not be kneeling before him?
And he asked me the same question, Ambassador. Why are you asking for that? I said, because if I become too small, I can't tell you what I truly think. I have to grovel. And when you grovel, you only say what the king wants to hear and would make the king happy. And then President Mwanawasa said, fair enough, don't kneel. And I never knelt in the period of time I was with him. And you build that relationship with the head of state, the person you are serving. So when I went to different countries to support chiefs of staff to heads of state, advisors to heads of state, I invited them to renegotiate their relationships with the bosses they were serving. In this particular instance, when we are running up to elections like that, deep conversations should be taking place between the advisors. And by the way, as you know, all ministers are deemed as advisors to the president. You negotiate. What does this mean? I would like to speak to the violence we have seen today and in past few days. If deep conversations are taking place, you would highlight to the president that at this point, this is the time you rise to your highest potential as a leader, not of a political party, but as a leader of the country. This is the reason why the office of president is never dissolved, even when parliament is dissolved, because we need the commander-in-chief so that they can still steer the ship. They still have all the powers until either their authority for the next term is renewed through a new swearing process, or they hand over power to someone who then inhabits those powers. If you carry yourself, and any president under election should know this, merely as a head of a political party, you are reneging on your ultimate responsibility of head of state. This is the time to lean on the powers vested in the presidency to maintain peace, security, protect everyone, protect the state. If a president veers towards the political party, no matter how threatened their position might be, they are abdicating their responsibility to take care of the state.
Many of our viewers, as you saw the special broadcast I was running, the angry calls, the fear in our people that our country is descending to lawlessness, statelessness, and that violence may take over, that the president and UPND seems so desperate to hang on to power that they will do everything. The way Brian Mundubile, who's a leading candidate for the opposition, has been treated in the last 60 days. The fairness of the competition, the suppression, oppression, and disruption of his ability to campaign and speak to our people. What what needs to be done? Because if the politics and the elections are now threatening our national peace and security, are now threatening instability, the way our people are feeling, what needs to be done?
Politicians become scared when their power is either stabilized or being lowered as we move towards election. And I speak to both sides, the ruling and the opposition, particularly those in power. And the temptation to fight that becomes strong. And that's when people apply rules in a manner that is not seen to be fair. But only if politicians, particularly those in power, can remember that people are not empty tins. They are wise human beings. And threatening them does not attract them to you. Fairness, justice, love, and care, taking responsibility is attractive. Owning up and apologizing when things are not fine attracts people. Feigning or faking courage and bravado dispels people. I don't understand how leaders cannot understand this simple logic. Unkindness repels. Injustice repels people. Unfairness is not liked by people. All of us, it doesn't really matter what level of education we attend. Life has taught us fairness and justice are human. And anybody, any leader who inclines towards fairness, justice, and fair play woos or attracts people.
Yes.
So if you really want to win an election, and if it's a fair game, lean on the side of fairness and justice, truth-telling, sincerity, and be vulnerable when you run short of what to do. People are not fools. They will understand. They will empathize. But if you believe that just being hard and committed only to the things I see, my thought is the only true thought, that turns people away. That's what I would say at this point, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Let me just remind our people that wonderful statement from TIZ, and I'm going to draw you to the role of the public service during this period. You can just take some water as I run this.
Time, TIZ noted concerns that were raised by some stakeholders regarding the delay in the arrival of ballot papers in the country, as well as the costs incurred by political parties to observe the printing process. While the Commission addressed many of these concerns publicly, the discussions demonstrate that continuous stakeholder engagement and timely communication remain very essential during sensitive stages of the electoral process. TIZ therefore encourages the ECZ to maintain the same level of openness and proactive communication throughout the remaining stages of this electoral process. Equally, political parties and other stakeholders should raise concerns responsibly and avoid circulating unverified information that may unnecessarily undermine public confidence in the Commission or indeed in the electoral process itself. We move to the last issue. Now, as I said, we have noted with concern the continued involvement of some public officers in public political discourse during the election period, which is an issue that we have highlighted in a previous update. Most recently, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Media, Mr. Tawo Kawana, publicly urged Zambians not to support a return to the governance style associated with a former Patriotic Front administration while defending the record of the current UPND administration. Now, while government has a legitimate responsibility to communicate policies, programs, and achievements, public officers should exercise caution not to engage in partisan political campaigning. TIZ wishes to remind Mr. Kawana and other civil servants that are engaging in active political activities, whether in support of the ruling UPND or any other political party, that active participation in politics by civil servants constitutes gross misconduct. In particular, number G under category B of the Disciplinary Code and Procedures for Handling Offences in the Public Service explicitly makes it an offence for public officers to engage in active politics, including speaking in public on political matters. As we did in our fourth update on the 21st of July, regarding Mr. Andrew Banda's active engagement in political activities while serving as Zambia's ambassador to South Korea, we again wish to amplify our call to the Secretary to the Cabinet, Mr. Patrick Kangwa, to institute necessary disciplinary measures against the two public officials for brazenly abrogating this position. The deafening silence from the Secretary to the Cabinet when his officers are so publicly abrogating the disciplinary code as highlighted raises very serious concerns about political bias within the civil service, but is also an indictment on Mr. Kangwa's ability to exercise the authority of his office. The public service exists to serve all Zambians, irrespective of political affiliation. And during an election period such as we are in, it is particularly important that public officers remain professional, impartial, and politically neutral. Political debate, defense of party records, and criticism of political opponents should remain a preserve of political party functionaries and not public servants whose remuneration is paid by the citizens of Zambia. We cannot overstate the importance of addressing this issue, and we challenge the Secretary to the Cabinet to make a public statement and assure the citizens of Zambia that he is not running a civil service that has effectively gone rogue and where his officers are not taken to task for abrogating the Public Service Disciplinary Code with impunity. In the same vein, TIZ is concerned by the participation of the Zambia National Service Commander during a recent engagement between President Hakainde Hichilema and students from the University of Zambia at State House. During that engagement, the commander highlighted interventions that have been undertaken by ZNS and spoke about improvements in sanitation at the university, among other achievements attributed to the government. While public institutions have a legitimate role in reporting on programs that they implement, the timing and context of such presentations during an active election campaign require very careful consideration. Security institutions, in particular, are expected to maintain operational neutrality and political impartiality, and their public communication should avoid creating perceptions that they are being drawn into advancing a political narrative or indeed endorsing the achievements of any one political party during an election season. As I conclude, as Zambia approaches a polling day, TIZ wishes to remind all stakeholders that the credibility of an election is not determined by what happens on polling day alone, but by the conduct of political parties, public institutions, candidates, and citizens throughout the whole electoral process. We therefore encourage all stakeholders to continue acting in a manner that promotes transparency, accountability, respect for the rule of law, and peaceful political participation. For our part as an organization, we remain committed to objectively monitoring the electoral environment and constructively engaging stakeholders in the interest of strengthening public confidence in Zambia's...
Thank you to all those joining us. We are hosting Martin Kalung Banda, and he's been on this show before, but he's one of those illustrious Zambians with so much knowledge that, you know, he's an academic, he's a lecturer, he's an administrator, he's many things, and is a leadership consultant, and, you know, he played a key role to the presidency of Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. Many people hold Levi Patrick Mwanawasa in such high esteem. You may have never known the forces behind him, besides other advisors and other people, but Martin played a key role in there, as he's explaining. Martin, we are in a sensitive period. The issues that have occurred in Western Province are of worry. The violence that has been perpetrated by the police. Yesterday it was by the youths, but today it was violence by the police, where we saw them disrupt the rally in Kalabo, and we saw them disrupt the process in Mongu. What happens when a president issues what you might call unlawful instructions. What do you do? Because these police officers seems to be under immense pressure. Where is this political pressure coming from? Clearly, what if the unlawful instructions are coming from the president? How do the opposition deal with it? How do the president deal with it? How do institutions, democratic institutions such as the police, deal with it? In this case, just how do you deal with a leader who's fearing to lose power and is beginning to issue what might appear unconstitutional instructions?
Those are tough questions, Ambassador. Unfortunately, it is not easy to ascertain whether the unlawful instructions are issued by the head of state or not. But what we can infer is that on the basis of the powers vested in the presidency, it is the duty of the president to come out clean and firm when such acts as we have seen in Western Province, in a clear voice, condemning violence and immediately instituting investigations. If the president doesn't take necessary and sufficient action, the people on the other side shouldn't fall prey to the provocation. Let's imagine in this particular case we are saying the police acted in this unjust and even violent, cruel way. They shouldn't fall for the bait. The opposition must not fall for the bait. It's time to practice what one of my teachers calls equanimity. Something rough and tough, disruptive is going on. If you fall for it, you lose balance. It's time to recollect so that you can summon inner energy to be able to respond to issues around you as cool-headed as you can. I hear everybody who was involved in that fracas. It is disheartening, but if you fall prey and try and respond in the manner they are expecting, tables turn upside down. The leadership of the opposition, it's time to withdraw and think through what is the next. Bring in the lawyers. Someone was advising, make sure you develop strategies where you are taking note where this is emanating from, because people will have to be accountable at some point. But that is when the head of state and government structures are not responding as appropriately as they are expected to. One loses authority. The title of leadership remains in name. As I have said in many other fora before, lidere is the root word from which the term leader comes from. In its original meaning, lidere means to cross over, but it also means to die. The one who is called a leader or the leader means they have thought things through before they offered themselves to preserve this thing called country. I am willing to die, not in defense of self, but in defense of the greater good, which is the well-being of the state. So I underline this. When police act like they are said to have acted in Western Province and other parts of the world, don't respond fire with fire, because you are playing in the hands of those who are provoking you. Come together. Yes, fight hard for what you believe, but not with violence, but with strategy, with maneuvering in a manner that still adheres to justice, a sense of fairness, and at the same time demanding what your rights are. If you get discombobulated along the way, the mind loses balance. And in the end, those with power, at least for this period of time, they turn the tables against you. I know this is not fashionable because once someone provokes you, what do you want to do? You respond fire with fire. That doesn't work when you're in opposition. Keep sending messages. Have people who are watching everything. This is time when the world is open. The phone is a powerful tool for communicating what is true and how peaceful you are. If you lose that, you are playing in the hands of those that want you to lose balance so that they can claim it's your fault.
Thank you, Martin. Let me just play some video from, to put into context the audience that was not available earlier. Your dear brother, Aka, was addressing the public rally when the police threw this tear gas in a peaceful crowd. Just listen to this.
There's no development that doesn't come from land and natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor? This fumusizwera famu waruna. This fumusizwera fas saluna. Solunya tela kistamana. Market soka fela. Mwendi munani womulata ulu. Ombata kuketa. Konondi abayo fa ballot paper. Akuna koro ya kubaketa. In an election, your only choice are those people who are on the ballot paper. This year, 2026, on 13th August 2026, on the ballot paper, if we are realistic, there is only one bad man and one good man. Coordinator na wanu kuhela kuliaeza zetu zete fosalie weza muna kitwalo nani mikulela kuliaeza twalo unanilunya yaeza zetu twalo unanilunya yana nilunya kiena yomu mkubaba yenu fa ballot paper this year ane diye kwa sorbrenda kulela kulinyeza indosu maketi nipraya nenuko lakuna indisi nilo
Those are the distressing images from Western Province, from Mongu. Aka was on the stage giving his official speech before Brian Mundubile and others came in Sakwiba Skota. There were a lot of leaders, Chileshe Kateka, Sakwiba Skota, and others. They are in an alliance and they were holding that rally. Earlier, their roadshow in Kalabo was stopped. And this has outraged our people. You must have seen the images yesterday. Again, very distressing images where up to 3 police officers were injured. And the police acting this lawless, for me, still comes back to the issue of leadership. You talk about balancing the presidency and state institution. But what if it is the president who's wrong in this case?
Ambassador, these are the moments that make true leaders. At this point in time, if things are happening like that, it's the time for the president to rise above partisan issues, as I've said earlier on. This is a defining moment, not only for the people he's contesting with, but more so for himself, because he has additional powers as Commander-in-Chief. Mr. President, if you didn't give those directives, you know that the police officers are decampaigning you, and that's not fair to you. But if in any way you are linked with that, that's not the leadership you promised in 2021, Mr. President. You gave people hope. People repudiated the previous regime because they wanted something better. They heard you. You promised fairness, justice, peace, equality. And if you are unclear about incidences such as I have just seen, you're not being fair to the state, but you are also not being fair to your responsibility as our head of state. You can use the powers vested into you to give direction, sense of safety, sense of security, not only to your opponents, but to the country as a whole. What is the point in winning an election if we end up a divided country? Elections are supposed to be a heightened moment of conversation. It is competition, yes, but it is competition fought within the boundaries of civility. We don't lose kindness. We compete, but we don't lose respect for the rule of law. We want to challenge one another, but at the same time, we hold the fact that we are one Zambia and one nation. This is, I emphasize, the moment when leaders are born. Moment when the country is in an intense conversation. Parties presenting who they are, what they stand for, what they wish for the country, allowing people to make a choice through the ballot. That's how civil systems do it. That's how we have done it since we got independence. Mr. President, you hold the key. Your voice could come through and people get heard. You could choose to provide the leadership that brings us together. But you could also choose to amplify your role as a contestant. And history will judge you in the manner that is fit. If there is any bit of kindness and care within you, you cannot tolerate the sin I have just seen. This country deserves much more. In fact, you promised it much more. So even if we were just to tie you to your own words, that kind of situation would fall short of what your own words were. And in leadership, words alone are not sufficient. It is when our words are authenticated by commensurate actions. If you speak peace, do the things that demonstrate and ensure peace. It's your country as much as it is ours. This time you have the huge responsibility of heading it. As someone said earlier on before I came on the show, leaders come, leaders go, no matter how long they stay. And it's important that you build a legacy that people will say, thank God we were blessed to have such a leader. Not a leader who, when they utter their name, they spit the saliva because it reminds them of something less honorable. 8 days, we can hold together as one country while competing ferociously in a civil manner. And after the 13th, we are who we are, brothers and sisters of the same soil and land, and moving on to build the Zambia we want together. So Ambassador Mwamba, I would say the same to Mr. Munduvile and all those who are competing for office. What is the point in winning an election if through your campaign we end up being a divided country? I am not saying Mr. Munduvile has done that. I'm not saying other competition from other political parties have said that. I'm just inviting them to compete, share what you disagree with
In
this
fact,
government.
you've provoked a very fundamental issue there. Who should exercise responsibility? I noticed from social media and from many calls, people begging Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu to abandon the campaign. They said your lives are at stake. You should return. But my thoughts were that if we are running a democratic, transparent, free and fair elections, is indeed the duty of the president to guarantee that his opponents have free campaigns, free of violence, free of oppression from the police. Who should shoulder the responsibility? If the police are misconducting themselves, there's always an urge to retaliate. What should people do? In this case, a burden is being shifted to the opposition leaders, not to the president, who has constitutional mandate, who has constitutional powers, and whose duty it is to keep our country safe. So I bring that issue because I've seen a raging debate between that probably Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu must retreat. Isn't the public pressure supposed to go to the president to ensure that he honors the constitution that he swore to?
It's a very unwise statement to invite purporting to be supporting and leaning on the side of Mr. Munduvile and his vice president. In fact, it is the responsibility of the head of state to protect his competitors. Because by so doing, he is communicating to us Zambians and to the whole wide world that in Zambia we compete fairly. Because if anything untoward was to happen to his competition, the loss is not only for the families of those that can be affected. The loss is to all of us. People start looking at Zambia as unsafe. The so-called investors who we have been trying to woo and we have attracted some, they begin to get scared. We become like some of the countries we know. That's how it starts. So the responsibility to care, to protect, rests in the head of state. Just like the responsibility to protect each one of us, not only political rivals, all of us, including those that are coming to the rallies to learn about what different political parties are saying. It is the duty of our president and the security system, the police, to look after us and ensure that we are safe. Sending a message that it is unsafe for you to continue on your campaign trail is communicating something that we are not. A lawlessness country, a country where individuals, if you hold a different view, your life is threatened. Your livelihoods are threatened. That cannot be the Zambia people fought for and are still fighting for, whichever side of the political spectrum you belong. One of the hallmarks of leadership is when you look after the whole. So,
and
one of the things I teach about...
Martin, why I brought you to this program is exactly that there should be a voice of reason. The elections 8 days away have polarized our country to such an extent that it's difficult to find a voice in the noise. And natural institutions such as the church should be our go-to in the moment of crisis. But they're the ones that are even allowing the operation, speaking in apologetic fashion. We find ourselves like we are alone, like we are literally alone. And our people are feeling unsafe. Our people are feeling that this election is like no other before. And I personally fear that there's something lurking under that might explode because of the way the truth is not being spoken. There doesn't seem to be an doubt in the room to say, we want to Akwalesa. Ichalo, I think, is more bigger, more important than anybody else. I don't know what your feelings and views are. I know you're very busy, but you've been following the events back home.
When we don't put our priorities right, we put ourselves on the pedestal. We put ourselves as number one, number two, number three. But leadership is not that way. And particularly because we have named ourselves as a Christian nation. If we look at who we follow by being a Christian nation, you must become smaller as the system you are responsible for increases. In fact, this should be one of the points of assessing a leader. If they are wishing and constantly fighting to be more than their citizens, more powerful than their citizens, then probably they are not the right persons to lead. In this particular instance, whether it's the president of our republic or any of the contending party presidents, it's time to show that even within 8 days, the Zambians can distinguish who they can trust with the future of our country, to bring people together, to continue building on what our forefathers and mothers, through whom we received our independence, gave us. 8 days is not too small for the game to change. Whoever shows up as a leader who unites rather than divides, a leader who can hold things together. It's possible, Ambassador, it's possible to be firm while being kind. It's possible to be decisive while being consultative. And it's possible to have party loyalty while still holding national loyalty. A leader who can't differentiate that these are not a matter of choice. A leader holds them together at the same time. I want to be firm in applying justice and fairness, but at the same time, I will exercise kindness. A leader who says, I am decisive, but at the same time, I know that I need to consult others before I surge on. You can be a very strong leader, but you can also belong to the larger whole. So these are called polarities, Ambassador. And good leaders know how to hold them both and hold them as sacred. When a leader chooses their political party against the interests of the state, then we question their capacity to make good decisions. I'm hoping that Mr. Munduvile and his team, Mr. Membe, and all the competitors, and our state president can, in the next 8 days, distinguish themselves with acts that match their words. Fairness, justice, respect for the rule of law, and ensuring that all the time what they are saying and what they are doing are helping us to become more and more one Zambia, one nation. 8 days is not wasted period. It will reveal the leaders in a very clear way. Zambians should not blink. Watch carefully. But the trick is not to be sucked into the violence so that we start responding with words of violence, with acts of violence. That is playing the game of whoever is fanning the violence. This is when true leadership will show up. It's a long period of time in which we can x-ray those who belong to the future of Zambia and those who should be cast by the wayside, even as we know that we are one Zambia.
Indeed, the greatest moment that defines a leader or makes a leader has always been about moments like this. What choices do you take? Are they ethical choices? What moments in a crisis or disaster, what do you do? And our president, sorry to say, may not be offering that he's not using the defining moment to make him stand out as a leader. He seems to be fanning the crisis. You are a leadership guru. You are not a politician. I'll not throw you into political issues, but I'll use the opportunity. Can you give us an example, just on top of your head? Because some issues you've already documented in your book, moments of crisis that required President Levi Mwanawasa to define himself. I personally remember the moment when President Michael Sata, in opposition, fell sick and he was dying. He has just had a heart attack. And we understand the person who was first to order the evacuation was the sitting president. Any president would have loved such a difficult opposition leader to die. But, you know, you tell it in your own words. But I remember Simon Miti explains it this way, that he went with a difficult word to the president. He was PS Minister of Health, and he had learned that the opposition leader had just had a heart attack and might die at CFB. And he rushed to the president. He didn't know what the response would be from the president. So Simon Miti puts it on record that he told the president that Michael Sata has had a heart attack and he was seeking permission to evacuate him. And he was shocked by the response by the president. The president blasted him. What are you doing? Coming to me. Do what is ethical. Evacuate that man. We see rare leaders rise in such defining moments where you expect them to take glory in literally taking away the life of the opposition or the opponent, and they in fact rise to do the unexpected. Just tell us any experience that you might remember in your walk with President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa.
I think I would talk about one which you and I share, because I remember you there. President Chiluba is unwell. And we make a small motorcade, which I just heard from the president's office. The president wants you to accompany him together with a few other advisors. And in a small motorcade, we made our way. And I think, Ambassador Mwamba, I found you there, or we found you there with former President Chiluba. So they had a chat, when you recall.
Yes.
When we arrived, before they went into their private conversation, President Mwanawasa, with a very sad face, he said, "Mr. President, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were this unwell.
Yeah.
We need to see that medical attention is given to you." And then we left them to chat. You and us sat on the other side. Yeah. And then when we went back to the office, I followed the president and I said, "Your Excellency, you need to help me understand this. You or your government has had former president under house arrest. why are you now doing everything possible to ensure that the former president is evacuated for medical attention? President Mwanawasa looked at me as I was from Mars. Says, Martin, you are confusing things here. The pursuit of whatever allegations have been leveled against the former president are one thing. My responsibility to take care of my former president, who is the former president of this country, is another thing. It's my duty to ensure that he is well, he is taken care of, and the two should not conflict. So when I talked about holding two polarities together, I mean something like that. A leader who is able to rise above pettiness, about enjoying revenge, enjoying the suffering of another. When you can enjoy the suffering of another, it's a clear sign that you are not fit for such high office. Humanly speaking, you might even have resentment, but there is something in leaders who are able to do the right thing that separates their personal resentment with the duty that the office imposes on them. There isn't much school where you learn about that.
Indeed,
we learn
indeed.
it from our
that,
parents.
That clarity to separate national interest from personal interest is, I think, what makes a leader. Yeah. And like you are saying, we see many leaders conflate the two, where they can't tell and distinguish what national interest, party interest, and personal interest is. In this case, let me just provide some small background. President Frederick Chiluba had been sick since 2004, and we had tried several times. They had his passport. They couldn't allow him to go. We sought permission from court. One time we was brought back from the airport. For 2 years, he was clearly unwell, and he had something that had developed that needed to be treated. So a day in 2006, I went to see him, and he clearly was unwell. So I called one of Dalton Sokontwe, was a member of parliament for Chembe, and he was very confident. And President Mwanawasa had fired Dalton Sokontwe because Dalton Sokontwe refused to stop visiting, Dr. Chiluba. He says, I'm your minister, but this is my former president, and also we are related from Luapula. So he was fired. There were even exchanges of letters. But that particular day I called him. I said, Basokontwe, wakateka bala tufuila, unless we speak to someone. And we scanned in the entire government. Who can we speak to? So me and Dalton Sokontwe went to Kalombo Mwansa. I can't remember whether he was Minister of Home Affairs or Defense, but he was a senior minister. And we approached Kalombo Mwansa, and we told him that the president is unwell, but he's been unwell. We've been trying to take him, but wala tufuila president, and the blood may be on the president. And lo and behold, 30 minutes later, an hour later, because that was around 11 hours, I received a call that go and prepare the president. President Mwanawasa is coming to President Chiluba's home. The two had not spoken or met or discussed since 2002. And this was the first time after President Chiluba left office that President Mwanawasa was going to come. And when I rushed to two issues. One, we didn't tell President Chiluba and Mrs. Regina Chiluba that we had approached the cabinet minister to report about the critical illness of President Chiluba. So I now had two double issues to inform them that not only that the president was coming, but that we had gone to a senior minister and tabled this issue. I didn't have a moment to convince them because they had to deal with the anger first of all. President Chiluba, what can I say? I can't use the word proud or pride. he didn't want to seek help from anyone. He was so self-content. And he said, look, if they don't want to evacuate me, my God will heal me. He was very spiritual in his approach. But I was saying, he was expressing anger, but who told you? Why didn't you tell me? I said, Mr. President, why but Valaisa in the next 30 minutes? So I didn't have time to go into the argument. But reluctantly, they saw my point. And, you know, Mama Regina quickly said, and you even came far earlier. I think within the next 15 minutes, you were there. And the President Levi Mwanawasa, came with Mama Maureen Mwanawasa. So there are rare moments when you see a leader rise above partisan issues, personal issues, like Levi Mwanawasa did to evacuate both Chiluba and Michael Sata. People who were literally fighting him to take power away from him. And this is what we call on President Hakainde Hichilema. He's not the first in this office. His predecessors have felt momentous occasions. There are even leaders like Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, who held literally all the liberation movements in Lusaka, and wars were being waged against us. Bombs were flying, bridges were being bombed because of these liberation movement we hosted. And Dr. Kaunda was very clear in making national decisions other than personal. Or other leaders could have done what Botswana did, where he said, no, we can't house any of you. We can't risk our country. We can't risk our people. Many would have taken that.
Ambassador.
Yeah.
Ambassador, you have just reminded me, I have to, since you asked for such stories.
Yeah.
There was that moment when actually between President Mwanawasa and Dr. Kaunda, things were not working very well.
Correct.
And before I started supporting President Mwanawasa, I had also been teaching on the executive program in Cambridge. And businesses that we were supporting, business executives, were about to graduate. And then they asked me, do you think Dr. Kaunda could come as our guest of honor? And you can imagine how troubled I was. But I said, I will pass on your request to Dr. Kaunda. But since I work in the presidency, I need to let President Mwanawasa know that even if they were not in good books, I needed to inform him that I would be talking to Dr. Kaunda. And I said to President Mwanawasa, you may not like this, Your Excellency, but I would like to go and pass on a request from the University of Cambridge Executive Program. They are asking for Dr. Kaunda to be guest of honor at a graduation program for senior business executives. And then President Mwanawasa said, so why are you asking for permission? I said, because you are not friends. He says, we differ in terms of opinion, but he's my former head of state. So why don't you go and ask him? If he agrees, let me know. And just before I left his office, he said, but if he agrees, there is one thing. There is no way we can allow the University of Cambridge to pay for our former heads of state's travel. This government will pay for the former head of state's travel. And I went and told Dr. Kaunda, who initially did not believe that I was coming from the president's office and that the president had blessed my trip to him. Within a few weeks, Dr. Kaunda and I and his team were flying to Europe, where he delivered a sterling speech. Leaders who can transition and go beyond and above these little squabbles we have, because they are conscious there is something larger than them. There is something larger than us individuals, we are only significant in our collective nature. Nothing, no office is larger than the thing called the Zambian state. If leaders can lock into that psyche, they might get some inspiration that allows them to be true leaders in moments of crisis, in challenging moments, in moments when their power is threatened or their failure to get power is threatened. We have to lock into something slightly much more than ourselves. That's where good qualitative decisions that pave the way for a better future of the country come from. I wanted to mention that, Ambassador.
Oh, that's very powerful. Thank you very much. And you are such a rare asset to our country. I've always advocated that literally every government should listen to you. They should get lessons from you. And I don't intend to flatter you, but that's a deep knowledge that you have. Our country is not good at celebrating our people, and we have not celebrated you enough.
Ambassador, just to interrupt you, when you received everything from your motherland, why should you be thanked? When you think of it, educated on state money, even if we have free education now, those of us in those days under Kaunda, it was equivalent to free education. I couldn't have afforded, my parents couldn't have afforded to send me to university. But because there was a system, then every one of us who qualified could. But also, I shouldn't underplay the opportunity I was given to serve in the presidency. And this is where I really get shocked when people want to give themselves what doesn't belong to them because they are in high office. When you serve well, your high office will pay you by the opportunities you get thereafter. There is no way I would have seen myself in Rwanda working in the presidency. There is no way I would have gone into Liberia, going into Namibia and other places that other systems invited me. It's because of the privilege I was given. And this, for me, is critical to whoever is in the public service. It may not pay well, but the experience and the knowledge it gives you, if you want, you can change it into anything. And we must be grateful for that. And that's why I don't expect people to say, thank you for being, because it's me who owes the country much more than the country owes me.
Thank you. As we begin to wind up, I have to again put you on a pedestal and demand some good answers from you. As we go to elections in the next 8 days, we understand the role of ECZ. They may not be playing fair and impartial. The role of the police, they are not playing fair and impartial. And at the heart of it is our peace, our security, and our stability as a country. Our people have a choice to make, and they should be allowed to make that choice. And Zambia continues to exist beyond 13th August. How we deal with the next 8 days will determine who we become after 13th August. Please speak to this, your counsel, to all, both leadership, like you said, both in the opposition, the current leaders, and strategic institutions such as the police, the ECZ, and the courts that will be instrumental in this transition period.
Leaders in government, leaders in opposition, but also faith and religious leaders, show us the way. Show us the way in the language you use, in the actions you take. This is a defining moment, not only for the candidates, but for Zambia as a whole. When you speak in a manner that divides us, you may find it hard, even if you win an election, to bring the cloth of Zambia together. If you pull the strings a little bit too far apart under the banner of competition, you may loosen the cloth to such an extent that you cannot put it together again. This has been worked for decades, since independence. In the spirit of humility and service of country, this is the moment you may have been born for, to ensure that Zambia holds together. And if you happen to be serving in government as a public servant, please hold your highest sense of morality, because when it really matters, there are certain offices that have more security than your position. You could end up doing something that lands you where you don't want to be. The presidency, for instance, has immunity, and it takes a heavy weight of lifting to remove that immunity. But the average public servant, once they are not playing ball, all you need is evidence that you tried to corrupt the system. So I appeal to your good nature. As the professionals you are, whether you are running the Electoral Commission of Zambia, or in council you are responsible for the ballot papers, or somehow you are a police officer of some kind or the other, or simply an elections officer. Kindly lean into your highest sense of professionalism. You don't want the burden to fall on you alone because you reneged your responsibility. You would be holding the spirit of Zambia by doing the best of your duties. Politicians come and go. The spirit of Zambia surges on, and all of us are invited. All of us are expected. All of us are commanded to hold and uphold that spirit of Zambia. So I can only appeal for professionalism, for commitment to national cause, which rises above partisan leanings. Yes, defend your party, but not violently and not physically. But at the same time, don't bring the state down so that you can push the party up. And electorate, exercise your freedom, your right to choose whose values rhyme with your own expectations. If I may suggest, choose leaders who seem to show signs that they can keep their word. And when they fail to keep their word, they are not shy to apologize and invite other people's ideas and opinions. Choose leaders who see Zambia as one country rather than a divided country. Choose leaders who are willing to become smaller as democracy becomes stronger, as human rights become stronger. And choose leaders who are willing to play the fair game, who are willing to make law reforms, not to make people less happy, less free, but leaders who are willing to use law reform to enhance people's democratic rights and responsibilities. This comes every so often. But even when 13th will give us a party and its leader to take us into the next 5 years, let's learn one thing. On the 14th, or whichever day, the president, the new president will be sworn in. Don't look away. democracy is not a subcontracting issue. We do not say, we have elected you, we are going to look away while you do business. That's not how it works. Democracy works, we have elected you, given you responsibility. And tomorrow we want to see how you are doing that. And we don't like that. By the way, you are doing this well. Please go ahead. Democracy is not a case of subcontracting. Demos, the people, Kratos, to rule. We are ruling, but we have asked a few individuals through their political party to lead the way. It doesn't mean that they go on their own. So please, even beyond the 13th, lean into whatever government we elect is doing or not doing. Because we can't afford to look away for 5 years and start afresh because we are happy or not, and we are happy or unhappy. Democracy is tough work. We have to be involved all the time at different levels.
Wonderful. I've been reminded that you can bring such a distinguished guest and you appear to be closing. Can you take some calls? Okay. So I'll take a few calls. If you have any questions to Martin Kalungu Banda, please bring it on. We're discussing leadership. Is a leadership training guru, and we wanted to understand what government, the opposition, stakeholders should do in this difficult 8 days as Zambia heads to presidential, parliamentary, and local government elections. So please call before we let Mr. Kalungu Banda go. We have our first caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
It's Daniel from Cape Town. Good evening, Honorable Mwam.
Daniel, I'm hosting Mr. Martin Kalungu Banda. Make your contribution.
My contribution is just to appreciate him. I've listened to the conversations that you've had. And it's so uplifting that we have people like him. Now, like he mentioned, to say politics is not about making your friends, your opponents suffer or making them enemies. Now, my contribution is those politicians that make government. And in Zambia, we have such people like him. Regardless of him saying he worked with President Mwanawasa or whatever presidents that you people have worked with, we need presidents that are sworn in, that are in power to look in the knowledge that we have in Zambia, not who the person worked with. Imagine the knowledge that is giving us there. If the current president hired people like him, than picking people because they supported him, people because they worked for the party or anything. We have ministers and permanent secretaries that when they speak, nothing sensible comes out of them. They don't preach unity. They don't preach anything that is Zambian. They only divide Zambia. But we need people like him. Even you, Honorable Mwamba, you've served in governments, and all you do is appreciate the people that you worked with. Regardless of being, rather now you are in opposition, but you give even advice to the current government. It's not about dividing Zambia. Politics is like football, where we see, I would give an example. When I was growing up in the Copper Belt, I was a power supporter and there was Nkana, but we had players like Zifa Nkoma who played for Nkana. His best friend was Sande Kalunga, who was a striker for power. When you see them in the ground, it was football. But when they are outside, they were good friends. Now, politics in Zambia of hatred, of people not wanting to be together to build Zambia, is building themselves. It's a sorry sight, some of the people I see in UPND being spokesperson. Thank you very much, the Honorable Pomon.
Thank you very much. We have another caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay, I will remain anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous. Make your contribution.
Yes, to our guest, I would love to ask you, during the times of Mwanawasa and others, we used to have inter-party talks when things are getting bad, people could sit and talk. Where have we lost it? And on the other hand, we've seen now the build-up of which the 2 or 3 days going to the elections, during and after, it's like we will lose lives. That's my observation. And on the other hand, when are we going to see the church chiefs and even some prominent people calling these sides to sit and discuss? Because it's not about them, it's about for everyone to see peace after elections, even during, because we will see a situation whereby from the time that violence started, we haven't seen like a way which is being done by ECZ and the police to stop it. Because in Cabo it happened like twice, in Lusaka, it's like the courts will at the end bring just the results like investigating, doing ABCD. But lives we've lost lives, which is not good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a good question about inter-party that we used to see inter-party talks when tensions like this rise. The leaders will come together and talk. So your question to Mr. Martin Kalungubanda is where are these talks? Maybe let me throw those 2 questions to Mr. Martin Kalungubanda. Martin, quickly answer to those 2 core questions, especially the one on inter-party talks. First, when tensions build.
Let me begin with the one from Daniel in Cape Town.
Yes.
Ambassador, I just wanted to complain to Daniel that he was supporting Power Dynamos when I was actually supporting Kalulush Modern Stars. That doesn't sound fair. But we can coexist, Daniel. Yes. When leaders lock themselves in the right foundation, values and beliefs, they know that political parties are for the purpose of organizing to communicate to the public what they stand for, what they believe in, what they could do if they were given office. It is not the highest aspiration. The highest aspiration always remains the well-being of the country, the well-being of the state. I will just briefly tell you what happened to me. I am in the office of the president. For the first 2 weeks, I was not seeing the confidential files that the president worked on because I hadn't been cleared by the security system. And finally, the President Mwanawasa, receives the report. And then he calls me to his office. And then he says, "Oh, Martin, you didn't tell me that you are not a member of MMD. And I just saw here that you actually carried the FDD party card. I said, oh yes, before I left for Europe, I was a member of FDD. In fact, I was part of the original group that Christon Tembo and other people brought together. Yes. Does that pose a problem? And then Manawasa said, oh no, you are a Zambian. I don't care whether you are FDD or not, unless you say you don't want to work with me. I say that jokingly, but we are looking for leaders who are willing to rise above all this pettiness. The first line and line of identity we have is that you are a Zambian. And if you can serve in one way or the other, does it really matter what your affiliation is if you can give your loyalty to the state? But I know we are probably for some people asking too much. But we shouldn't stop demanding that from our leaders. He still went ahead and swore me in, even when I wasn't a member. The question coming from the anonymous person about inter-party talks, as you know, inter-party talks did not happen just because political leaders wanted them. It was concerted effort, as far as I can remember. Church leaders, civil society leaders, some political party players talking here and there until it reaches the head of state. And the head of state is convinced we need to talk to one another, even when it might come across as if I don't need them. A leader who recognizes that he or she needs the opposition leader is the leader we should be aspiring to have. Because a leader in government without an opposing voice is only human. They will relax. They will start thinking everything is fine. One of the things that frightened me when I got into the presidency was just how much, even among ministers, they competed during a cabinet meeting to say, each time there was an agenda item given by the chair, who is the president, they competed to congratulate the president on an agenda item because the president had indicated, this sounds like a good idea. The most common word I ever heard, Ambassador, was, Your Excellency, my colleague just took words out of my mouth. I was going to congratulate you for deciding that we should increase the budget for the Ministry of Works and Supply by 10%. And people are sitting out there thinking the men and women who sit in cabinet are discussing to run the affairs of the country. Until one day I told the president, Your Excellency, can you change tact? Whenever you are introducing an agenda item, please don't reveal what your position or opinion is. Ask, like in the following, there is an agenda item to increase the budget for the Ministry of Works and Supply by 10%. What does cabinet think? Ambassador, the first time it happened, you should have seen members of the cabinet going quiet because they couldn't tell which position the president was holding. And again, I say that because a president must become aware what this position looks like in the African context, in the Zambian context. I always emphasize African presidents, now we have seen that even elsewhere it can be the same, can mimic God. Almost like in the creation narrative in Genesis. Let there be the water and the moon, and there was. Day one, morning came, evening came. God said, let there be the trees and the birds of the air, and there was. Presidents in Africa can mimic God. Let there be that head teacher, and the system would do everything possible to make that a head teacher. Let there not be that minor, and the system will do everything. So the deal is for the head of state to know, I have this overwhelming power. How can I use it as a tool to elevate the citizens and the country as a whole? If you don't, you start thinking you can walk on water. And party talks are part of the recognition that our unity as a country is unfinished product. Unraveling the opportunities that the country faces is unfinished product. And that my political party, my cabinet, my ministers are not sufficient to understanding and knowing what needs to be done to unravel the opportunities the country confronts or faces. Hence the need to talk to other human beings so that we can become wiser, more knowledgeable, remembering that the higher you go, the less truth reaches you. So a good leader moves down. And to that extent, Ambassador, you remember I told you this story when you were serving in
Ethiopia.
In Addis, and you invited me to work with embassy officials. I said, any leader worth their salt must have a system in which they know what the official system is not telling them. It's not only the intelligence, because even the intelligence system learns to only tell the one-sided story. They are human. But you need to have informal channels. And that's why I made an agreement with the president that there were certain days I would take where I would invite ordinary citizens. Maybe it's a teacher who is going beyond the call of duty. Invite them to come and have a cup of tea with the president. Maybe it is someone working as a nurse in Namshakende or elsewhere, and we reach them and they come and have lunch with the president. You prepare them so that they can share as truthfully of the picture they see on the ground as possible. Not in a threatening way, but in a way that allows them, this is an opportunity to inform my head of state the stories that may not reach him because everything he receives might be censored. So party talks are necessary, not just for political parties. They may be called that way, inter-party talks, but civil society and the church is informed and involved. By the way, I have a guess. I think in this moment, they are not working, although it's not too late, because somehow some of the laws that have been implemented have scared people. That's why people cannot easily exchange on WhatsApp, this is what I'm thinking. When you see on Facebook people saying, I don't have a lawyer, that is feedback to the state. It means people are fearful. It might come across as a joke, but when we send shivers in the system, truth doesn't reach the king. And in the end, it's possible to have a naked emperor.
Thank you. Thank you. Martin, I'd like to thank you for taking your time. I know you've been very busy and I've been chasing you the last 2 weeks. I think your voice was necessary, extremely necessary in this volatile situation. And the council advice and experience you've shared with the nation, I think will go a long way in trying to ensure that our country remains peaceful, united, despite the challenges we are currently facing. And our people will make right choices for leaders that will preserve Zambia, not themselves. So please be on standby, especially during the post-electoral process. It might be extremely tense and, clear voices like yours may be needed, and I may call upon you.
Ambassador, thank you for the opportunity. I wish Zambia peace. I wish Zambians the courage to use their God-given right to choose who to rule them, without intimidation, without fear, and remembering all the time that we are one Zambia, one nation. Thank you, Ambassador.
Indeed, God bless you, and we'll speak to you later. to retire now. I was running a special broadcast earlier, and then we've just hosted, a son we should all be proud of as Zambians, Martin Kalungubanda. And tomorrow morning at breakfast, and you'll allow me to go away. I know a lot of people are now beginning to call sorry, but tomorrow morning, let's wake up together and discuss what has happened, the violence that has happened in the trail by leading opposition leader Brian Mundubile in Western Province. And their possibility to cross over to Southern Province is now even threatened with the information we are receiving, where the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Fred Hamamba, is at the center of disrupting what happened in Western Province today. So we'll unpack all the issues tomorrow with my special guest. Join me, and we'll review all these issues of violence that have occurred and put them into context. So God bless you. I'll leave you with these images.
Bring your magazine. No, it's not necessary. Yeah. We're not going to escalate. You have to deal with them. They have sticks, not pangas.
We've just clashed with UPND. These are Tricia Kassanda's people. She's there as well. They've come to a ward where we're supposed to be having our activities. As we're speaking right now, our honorable is in the car. He's been bundled into the UPND car. The cadres have attacked us. And they had blocked both our vehicles. We were trying to make our way out. Unfortunately, when reversing, I hit into the car that was parked in my rear, in the back of this vehicle. So right now, we're waiting for the police to come through. We don't have an idea what they're doing to Honorable Banda Moses. This is happening right now at Lifambola. And we had our people gathered here. Unfortunately, the UPND came through and they started addressing the people that we had gathered. So those people were waiting for us, and we don't know. The arrogance of these people had us clash, and I've been attacked right now. This is the state of my shirt. I'm with Mr. Ngala here. We're just waiting and the police come through.
No development that doesn't come from land and natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor? This fumusizwela famu waruna. This fumusizwela fas saluna. Solunya tela kistaman. Mwaliket soka fela. Mwendi munani womulata ulu. Ombata kuketa. Konoti abayo fa ballot paper. Hakuna kolo ya kubaketa. In an election, your only choice are those people on the ballot paper. This year, 2026, on 13th August 2026, on the ballot paper, if we are realistic, there is only one bad man and one good man. Coordinator na wanu kuhela kuliaeza zete mfosalile kweza munya kitwalo nani mikulela kuliaeza twalo unanilunya yaeza ze twalo unanilunya yana nilunya kiena yomu mkubaba yemi fa ballot paper this year kana natoka kumikupa kuli mumulu ndile natoka kumikupa kuli don't vote for him ane niye kwa konwenda kulela kuli nyeza indosu makeni ni praya nenuko lakuli zaindini
Very disappointed, you know. This is pure dictator. The police ever intercede. The police are attacking people like this. Police officers attacking me. Citizen.